GSL Code A.
To the top left of the map starts the Zerg player, formerly known as Lion. Changed his ID. Playing for the Zenix team, this is in the red.
Genex SuHoSin.
Very interesting opening so far. 6 pull and forward Nidus with Hydralisks. Love to see this coming back again. At the bottom right, we have his opponent. In the blue, the Slayers player. This is the Protoss called
Slayers Crank.
Crank is such a cool idea. I feel like I don't know. I don't know what he's cranking. But he could crank up the music really loud. He could have some crank that he turns that, you know, gives him, I don't know, like for example, what if he has like something on a chain, like he owns Lion. If he wins his match, he's like on a chain, whatever. Lion like tries to run away, he just like cranks him back in. He like pulls the crank and like pulls him by the chain all the way back. He's like, I'm sorry, Lion, you have to come back home and make me dinner and give me a massage. Stella's not doing it these days, so I'm gonna crank you in. You have to do it. You have to do what I say. I don't know, man. Just crank is a cool idea. I'm trying to think of things to crank right now, but all I can think of is like cranking a power generator or
the
like
only
wheels.
thing I can think about if I heard the snake name is actually the movie.
Oh, okay. I actually didn't see this movie, but I've heard of it.
You've never seen Crank?
No, I never saw Crank. I don't know. It seemed like a lame American movie. I don't know.
It's Jason Statham. What you see is what you get, my friend.
I don't know. Is it worth my time?
It's funny.
Okay.
That's funny. It's a different style. It's just funny.
All right. Well, maybe next time I have a chance. Take a look.
Well, Forge first once again for Crank. He's starting here with his Forge, Nexus, and then the Gateway. On the other hand, we have Crank with a 14-13 build.
Suho is actually... Is this a Speedling expand, or is this a Baneling all-in? Let's get real for a second. I feel like it's not going to be an expansion.
Well,
or
the thing
it will
is,
be a hatchery, but I don't think
look
it's
at his gas. He's still mining gas. He already has the 100. He already has speed on its way. So a Baneling nest might be something that we're going to see, but he will definitely get an expansion, and there's already the hatch that he's building. So we might still see the Baneling nest. And if he's going for some kind of... Yeah, there it is. That is the Baneling nest.
He actually may see this.
I doubt it. The Queen should be able to shut it down.
Well, all he has to do is click on this gas. Okay,
No.
That would have been insane.
He needs the lava, and he also needs the plan to fall back to. So this is one of the builds that we've talked about. This is exactly what Lion does, what SuHoSin does. This is the kind of build that he's really comfortable with. And let's see if he's able to shut down Crank's attempts of winning this best of 3. If he sends the Slayers player down to Code A, down to Code B actually, that is going to be really amazing, because it was not... Every single game that we've seen was not really a macro-style game. It was always trying to hit timings, trying to confuse his opponent, trying to surprise him. And the main question here is going to be how many cannons and how many sentries. There are already 2 cannons.
2 cannons. First sentry is on its way. He may make a 3rd cannon. I'm sure he will as soon as he sees the Banelings, but it may be too late at that point. Uh-oh, the sentry's not out yet.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and he misses the force field, and this is how Crank will fall out of the GSL.
Oh, he will be really, really cranky after this.
Oh, I'm sure he will, man. It's not over yet. He's pulled his probes. He's going to try to trap these lings, but 1 sentry alone.
No mining, guys. There is no mining right now, as he is using all of his probes to make this happen. But look what Crank is doing. He's just droning up behind it. He knows already that it is highly unlikely that he's able to get more Zerglings in there. He's just trying to do as much damage as possible. Wow, the fail field in the middle of the map, not doing anything.
Yep. And he did cancel that Baneling he was morphing, and he thought he could get away with it. It was found by Crank. His mining is terrible right now, so even though the worker count is in his favor 28 to 21, he's just lost so much mining from dancing around like this that this is looking really good for Suho already. Has to keep these lings alive, though, to make them valuable, and he's doing just that.
Oh, and the Baneling! Oh my god! Oh wow, and the sentry, uh-oh!
Oh! he saves it for now.
Wow.
Well, that
those guys were really, really lucky. 10 workers killed in total.
he almost got the sentry. Yeah, that was extremely lucky. But if he had 2 banelings, that could have been, well, that could have been game. But he's getting a lair, and he's going to the next phase.
If he starts with Nidus now, again, I would be not only surprised, I would be completely speechless. He has the overload to the top right.
He's got 3. He's got one at the natural, he's got one at the top right, and one at the left. So he's got all sorts of possibilities with Nidus. 3 gases going up, though. And that could just be for Muse, because Muse are actually pretty smart follow-up to this as well.
Yeah, he could do whatever. As long as he's playing it kind of safe, he could do whatever. What am I talking about kind of safe? The thing is, he knows exactly what's going on in the space. He knows that that he killed a sentry, that his opponent is probably going to expect some pressure. So what exactly is Crank going to do right now? He's probably just trying to fall back and then play a little passive for now. Him moving out now immediately is something that I don't see happening. And I guess that this is something that Lion already gambles, that he is not... He's banking on the idea that Crank will play a little bit more passive
back
than
up
he
and
originally
stabilize.
would be. Yeah.
And this is why Suho right now is making 9 drones, a macro hatchery, and is going for infestation pit with a macro hatch. He's not making any attacking units because he knows that the Protoss will not attack him. He has overlords to go check very soon if additional gates are being added, what sort of tech he can expect. And he is actually playing the follow-up to this really, really safely.
He has 2 Zerglings. That's all that he has. He has the 2 Zilanaga watchtowers, and that is all that he needs. So at this point, he's going into an Infestor transition, and he has a lot of Harvesters already. Crank, of course, also chrono boosting his economy, trying to get his drone count up as fast as possible. And he is able to kind of keep pace with Line. He already has 45 to 49 Harvesters, where the Zerg player is getting his 3rd base. And the Infestors are already on their way. So in regards to the tech, this is not too bad for Line at all. Crank is doing a good job staying in this game, but this early blow against his economy was something that he is, well, he's at least trying to recover from it, and it's not in too bad of a shape, but it's still, it's something that you're not comfortable with as a Protoss player, as any player. If you get dealt a blow like this in the early game, you think like, okay, how far behind am I
How
actually?
far behind
how
am
much
I?
do lost?
And is he going to follow up with another attack? Is he going to be trying to balance his economy? What is the Zerg going to do next? I'm a little bit in the dark. It's hard for me to move out and scout. So it's a scary position for several reasons. 2 additional gates going up, Blink. +1's going to finish. He'll likely start +2 immediately afterwards. He has the resources to do it. Does see the 3rd base with the Observer. And he's going to see the Macro Hatch. Now, the next important thing for him to see, of course, is the Infestors. He's going to see double Evo Chambers very late. And will he see the Infestors? It looks like no. It's almost as if he's just expecting Roach play once he saw his Evo Chambers or something. He's not checking for the Infestors at all. Okay, now 2nd Observer comes in. I was mistaken.
Observer number 2 spots it. 7 Infestors, as Wolf mentioned, are already being made. And, well, what exactly is Crank going to do? Every kind of 2-base attack that he could throw against his opponent will most likely be intercepted, because with the Infestors already in the game and gathering energy, it's going to be very hard for Crank to pull it off.
Yeah.
Taking a 3rd base is basically the only option that he has.
Yeah, and he's got to kill that Overlord first, though. Oh, he wasted 2 fungals on that Observer. Well, wasted, arguably used, I would say. I don't think it was a waste.
You can't afford it with 7 Infestors in the game.
He was forced to do that, and I mean, it was better to him than making the Overseer for that gas.
There's not just no chance that Crank is moving out at this point.
Yep.
And tries to attack, not with all these Infestors. It's
Suho.
basically Suho who's trying to be aggressive and force a cancel on the 3rd.
That's exactly what he's trying to do here. This is really smart. There's no robotic support bay just yet to deal with the Infestors, unfortunately, so he still hasn't even started that. So this is going to put Crank in a little bit of an uncomfortable position, but with good force fields, he definitely can defend here, and he still has the 2nd Observer. He didn't take care of that.
He knows exactly what's going on. Look at this vision. The Observer, if those Infestors die, if all of them just die, that would be brilliant. Here come the Infestor Terrans. He immediately moves back with those Infestors. I love this decision. How much damage will he be able to do? The 3rd had to be cancelled.
Yep, and he's got that sentry at the front that has 100 or 200 energy. And it looks like he's going to save it. But yeah, I like that he saved the Infestors and he forced the cancel. He basically traded energy and a few Zerlings for the cancel.
Did he already start building it? He did, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now he's got the Zerling there and he doesn't even know.
Where's the Observer? The Observer's heading out now.
Oh, that's so unfortunate.
he's going to lose more time. When will we realize what's happening? Oh, there it is, immediately. You realize immediately what's going on. Well, the supply is slowly and steadily just increasing for SuHoSin, whereas Crank is still on 107, trying to get the +3 upgrade. 6 additional infestors are being made, and SuHoSin has all the options. He can do whatever he wants to. He just needs to be very, very careful about how he's going to approach his opponent. He can opt for this late game strategy right now. Now he has to show that he's able to play it. He will take a 4th base, and he can definitely control this map. I think I should spread his creep a little bit more careful, a little bit better. That's one of the things that we should definitely criticize about what he's doing now, because now he needs to stabilize. This is not going to be some kind of momentum that he carries in his opponent's base. He has an advantage, but he has to play his cards well.
Certainly so. I mean, he does have a lot of good cards in his hand, but he doesn't have all the cards yet. He doesn't have everything he needs. He needs that 4th base, and he needs the Greater Spire. Needs both of those things, and if he overextends trying to do both at once, things can get bad for him if he loses his army here. So right now he's actually teching, expanding, and attacking all at once, and this is very, very scary because if Crank holds here and goes for a counterattack, he'll lose an expansion while he's trying to attack because he won't have the resource to defend the counterattack.
I don't think they should really try to take the 3rd base now of his opponent. The position that Crank has is just
really nice.
It's too good.
He's got a great concave setup here before the attack even commences. The probes somehow sneak through. Infestors are starting to fall. It's a lot of infested Terrans and Zerglings, but will this be enough?
The infested Terrans, they pop, and immediately we have the blink back with most of the Stalkers. Crank is trying to defend this. It's not going to be easy, but he might be able to pull it off. The Zerglings run in at the natural takedown. Every single probe there is, every single one. And now the infested Terran trying to break through SuHoSin, dropping in supply, but on the other hand, Crank is losing unit after unit as well. He's backing off over and over again, but this blink micro with the Stalkers is just amazing, and he whittles down the force of SuHoSin, and suddenly Line is in trouble, retreating already with the reinforcements, not sending them in.
Yeah, and now he's getting +2 armor. He does actually not have the Hive Tech, so he's going Hydras here to try to hold this counterattack, this potential that there is for counterattack, because he wants to fight against pure gateway forces. But the problem is the Colossi are on the way, so his Hydra's Tech is not going to be useful for him at all. And am I crazy, or did he start Hive earlier and then canceled? I could have sworn he started that, but either way, the choice to go for Hydras instead of Broodlords is smart, but it's not going to be useful against the Colossus Tech.
The problem that, well, I talked earlier that I think that personally SuHoSin is maybe not the player that is on the same level as Crank macro-wise when it comes down to the mechanics. And if he would have just fallen back and not attacked, taken a 3rd, spread his creep, started his tech, he would have been in a much better position. Of course, it's very scary when you face a Protoss that is on 200 supply. That can always be the end of you as a Zerg player. But that's definitely a risk that he might consider to take if he had the choice to undo his decision. Because now he's kind of forced to stick with this barrage of attacks. And with the game that Crank played so far, I don't see him losing against these attacks.
No, he will not. The Colossi doing real damage here, and he has to blink his Stalkers back. We have a very similar situation the last time. He's got cannons up still, but this time the probes are having to be pulled far away.
The Nexus! He's sniping the Nexus, and the Nexus dies. He loses
it, and the Roaches are out of there.
He's trying to get the Roaches out of there, but with another blink, those Stalkers will take down most of them, maybe even all of them.
Yep, and here we go. Blinks forward, takes the Watchtower, gets another Roach. Colossus range is done. He does have 2 of them out, and this is always the best time to attack, man, with 2 in range.
The 3rd dying triggers an attack by Crank, and suddenly blinks and takes on every single infestor that he can see. And this is bad news now for Crank. He is really in a tough spot. He's trying to get Corruptus against those Colossi, but this is not going to be easy. Even though he has a supply advantage, Crank has a very strong army right now.
Yeah, you know, Crank's got this massive force that he could have done potentially more with, but he decided to back up with. And now the Corruptor's on the way. There are a few more Roaches out, and Line will hold 100%. Well, I mean, he's not going to hold because it's just over. The attack has stopped. But he's got an economic lead. In some ways, arguably, it's 3 base against 1 mining base right now for the Protoss. And he is going to move out a second time, this time with Corruptor support. Will he attack this location again, though? I think it might be suicidal now with the 2 Colossi here, and he's going to be in position. He's not going to allow the Infested Terrans to come down before he fights.
I think he's at the... Well, he's at 200 supply right now, and he certainly has the minerals to take another base, but I feel that he is on the opinion that he has to attack at this point.
He's pulling a July Zerg a little bit here, I feel like.
You be on the base and attack until up to the point where you run out of minerals.
Yeah, it's either, you know, your opponent's dead or you're dead after the attacks stop. A third Colossus is about to pop out here. The Corruptor count's only at 5, if I'm not mistaken. 8 actually now out. Roach is getting a little bit ahead of themselves. He's trying to force the Protoss army out of position. Here we go. Corruptor's actually getting in great control here by line. 1 Colossus about to fall, but there are 2 left. The Hydras are taking so much damage in the Blink Stalker Micro. It is phenomenal. He needs to spread them out a little bit, though. A lot of them at the back not really firing.
And as the Colossi are dead, 1 is being built and immediately under attack by all those Corruptors. He needs to retreat, and this time he's using his micro to make it happen. Corruption being used onto the Colossi as well as the Stalkers blink forward and focus Hydra after Hydra. The army of Crank, it takes SuHoSin apart once again. And even though he's every single time behind an overall supply, this works very well for Crank. These attacks, they are not cost efficient at all.
Yeah, they're really not, and he doesn't have a 4th base yet. He's taking one at the top left, and it's about 90% done. 6 more Infestors on the way to replace the ones he lost. That'll put him up to a total of 6. He literally lost every Infestor with that attack. Some of the Corruptors did survive. The Roach army is you know, it's a little bit weaker, but it still exists. The Stalkers have +1. He's not getting any armor upgrades right now, but he's adding a 2nd Robotics, which is really interesting. It's almost as if he's certain that his opponent's going to continue with this without any more bases. Almost as if he's positive there will be no Greater Spire anytime soon.
Crank, on the other hand, he is ahead in upgrades. Even though SuHoSin is trying to close the gap, Crank is currently on 1 armor and 3 attack, whereas SuHoSin is on 2 armor and 1 attack upgrades. So the upgrade advantage definitely in favor of the Protoss player, who is still happy to defend on his bases. He's trying to get a high Colossus count so that he has all this DPS that he needs to break through and to will counter-attack SuHoSin. Line is taking a 4th base, and if he's able to control his side of the map and always just expand over and over again and retransfer his drones, he will end up winning this game, just because at some point Crank is going to be bound to run out of money.
Yeah, and he does need a 4th. He killed the rocks for the base and the center, so he could kind of go up there and take it when he wanted to later. Nice observer snipe there. But I think he's making double immortals now. Okay, that's something I really, really like. That's smart, because if he can need to produce Colossi, it might be a mistake. He needs somebody to deal with the Broodlords he's going to eventually face. Yeah, the Hive Tech's just now started, but he still needs to get that infrastructure ready for the potential of Broodlords. Now, where are these probes going? Is he going to sack those? Or is he just going to go long distance mine? I'm not actually... Yeah, he's just going to long distance mine. That's really strange. It's almost as if he's trying to bait Suho into fighting him.
He's scouting it already. He sees it. He has a Zergling in position. He knows that he's long distance mining. He has seen it. If those Lings run over, and they do.
He's long distance mining from 2 bases. Maybe he started next to someone but didn't notice that it didn't finish because the Zergling blocked it. But this Infestor counterattack can be quite scary.
The Infestors are burrowing in here. He spots it with the Observer. Su is aware of it. Here's the army. Where are the Infestor Terrans? There they are, quite a lot of them. Immediately the Colossi being attacked by the Corruptors. The Hydralists closing the distance. And here come the Infestor Terrans. Nice force fields blocking out half of the army of SuHoSin. But he has the bigger numbers. But all those Stalkers, a lot of Stalkers backed up by the Colossi. SuHoSin is dropping in supply. He's rebuilding it immediately. But this army is already dead and gone, while we have another few Roaches trying to sneak up into the main base.
Yep, and a lot of them will get in there. He is in a little bit of trouble here because he has to blink back into his main to deal with these Roaches, and at the same time, this allows Suho to remax his Roach army. He made something like 35 Roaches or something insane after he lost that first group. So he's already back maxed out again, cranked down at 134. Still no 4th base, going to lose the pylons over here at a potential 4th that he might want to take. Now, 40 supply down, has to remake his core, keeping the immortal production going, but he cannot reinforce, cannot attack with Stalkers. Greater Spire is on its way here, as well as +3 for the Roaches, but he needs that very, very soon.
Crank is just starving at this point. He doesn't have any... His income is just getting worse and worse as more mineral patches are completely depleted. And Suho with his 4th base is still mining. Crank was never able to attack his opponent, to put pressure onto SuHoSin and take down a base or two, at least kill a few of his opponent's workers. Didn't really work so far. Now he's trying to make it work. And he has a huge army to make it happen, but will he be able to take down Crank's army? That's the main problem. The drones are not joining the battle while the Queens are close in distance in order to be able to at least transfuse a little bit. But there are so many Stalkers, there are a ton of them.
Yep, and they're blinking back really well. Transfuse is going down on the Roaches, but will it be enough? The Roaches spawn very quickly, and the Immortal doing some damage at the end, and the Stalker Micro is just too good. The Infestors, they don't have any energy left.
But here come a few Hydralists. He is not really attacking with his entire army at the same time, and now suddenly the Infestors are being pressured. He spots them with the Observers, trying to take them down, but more reinforcements are streaming in, and I feel that Crank at some point will just run out of units here.
Yeah, he very well may. The Hydralist being transfused here, and he just has enough small groups of Roaches to hold on here a little bit longer. The drones are being pulled, though. He needs more reinforcements. The Nexus at the left side of the map, almost done, but it's not done yet. And Suho, with his economy, was able to just rally units across the map forever to hold.
Big problem for Lion was, though, that when he rallied those units across the map to reinforce his army, they always stopped short of the actual battle. They just waited a little bit behind before they attacked and took part in it. So, and at this time, Crank was able to kill more units of Lion than he should have been able to. But still, the supply overall working in favor of SuHoSin, and he's doing a good job here.
Well, Templar Archives is on the way. A little bit more harassment by these Roaches, empowering some gateways. Not being dealt with whatsoever from Crank.
Yeah, this main base is completely dying to just these few Roaches that are still over here. And the production is completely stopped at this point. There's just nothing. Well, he has a few more powered gates and, of course, those double robo. But there is not a lot, and he needs an Observer here as soon as possible.
This is actually really stressful for Crank. I feel like he's falling apart here. He doesn't. I mean, he's defending his 4th base right now, but against what? He's not being attacked. He's afraid of an attack, but he has completely neglected his main base defenses. He's not dealing with the Roaches in his main. They've actually unburrowed. They're continuing the harassment, picking off units that are warped in there, and I mean, this is looking desperate for Crank. He's getting Storm right now.
There are still a few units on this map that SuHoSin is not even using. There are a lot of Zerglings in the middle between between his natural and his 3rd that he is not using at all. And again, the pylon dies and the gateways are unpowered. This is like really bad. Look at how much minerals, how many minerals and how much gas he has.
Yeah, he is looking very weak right now. Double Immortal is continuing to be Chrono Boosted out. His Storm is getting closer and closer. The real story for Crank here is he does have the 4th base up. He needs more than that. He needs this army as well. Now he's finally going to take out these Roaches, brought the Observer back, and will chase them down and kill them. Nice micro against the Roaches.
He has the 4th to the left side of the map, so he has another base that he's mining from, and he has a lot of minerals as well. He's about to get 100 supply once more. But now with Storm, maybe he's in a position where he can take a few of these units down. But what is Suho doing exactly with all these drones?
He may have accidentally put them in his hotkey when he was fighting earlier.
But you have to realize that when you're moving your army. I mean, at some point you will actually look at the units.
Suho has no mining except that base on the left where he's fully saturated. So I guess he feels like he has to be all in here, but he doesn't. Storm's going down, hitting mostly Roaches or thin air though, and that's not the best Storms I've ever seen.
And the snipe on the 4th. This is something that Crank cannot let happen.
But it's too late, and it will happen. The Nexus goes down. Drones kill it. He may even claim this base with his drones. This is such a funny game that we're witnessing right now.
SuHoSin in a huge supply lead here. He has a lot more supply than his opponent. The army supply is in his favor by 60. 130 against 70.
Well, here comes the next attack, and this may be too much for Crank. The worker count right now, 55 to 40 in Suho's favor. Crank is trying to circumvent his army, going to the right side, trying to abuse the immobility of those Broodlords, and then the fact that his opponent's army consists about 1/5 of drones right now. The Infestors remain alive, though, and there are so many of them. There are 9, most of them at full energy at this point. He cannot afford to lose these Templar. This is really stressful. 2 more Infestors on the way, and no additional bases for Suho. He could be taking so much more.
200 supply against 130. Another Storm hits nothing except for Broodlings. while the Broodlords are trying to get into a position. And here comes SuHoSin aiming right for his opponents. He's trying to flank here. Will we see Fungals with Infestors? Are they going for the Infested Tyrants once again? It looks like it. Here come the Infested Tyrants, but he's just moving back out of the range.
Yep, and Crank trying to find his way out of here. There are more and more Infested Tyrants coming. He's on his way up, but he's not going to be able to run forever, and any Fungals that catch him are really going to hurt him. He's actually using only Infested Tyrants. It's hard to see exactly what's in that Zerg army, but Crank is surrounded. He is out of room now, and once all these Hydralisks and Roaches close the distance, he's going to lose his army, and Suho will likely take this best of 3. The Infested Tyrants begin to fire.
Crank is backed up into a corner. He cannot escape. Here he's losing stock after Stalker drops down to 40 supply. And Slayers, Crank is going to lose. GG! As SuHoSin claims victory. 2-1 for the Xenix player.
Well done. And Lion, a Code S player this very season, contains, he keeps his spot so far in Code A, and he will at least secure himself a position in the up and down matches for this upcoming season. Crank looking a little bit disappointed, but you know, in the end, he seems to be in high spirits no matter what the results are.
I don't know.
I mean, on his face, obviously he can't be happy with how those games
he
went.
can't be too happy with how this went. And this attack early on with the Banelings that we had, this probe was so close of scouting that there was a Baneling nest, or at least seeing the gas, and then he would have been able to at least, okay,
his sentry was almost out.
If the sentry scouts the gas and he clicks on the gas and you realize, okay, well, you mine more than 150 gas, then that's probably got something fishy going on. He will throw down another cannon. He will maybe chrono boost his sentry a little bit so that he has the force field. But then the sentry is out, and the only thing that the sentry does is die. It doesn't even throw down a force field, so that was like really bad. He lost a lot of probes in the early game, and from this time on, everything is kind of freestyle.
Yeah.
Because usually what you have in the early stages of StarCraft 2, the builds are really defined, like really refined builds, and the longer the game progresses, the more freestyle you've got. And at this point, all the builds and all the timings just went to hell. So it was really interesting to see how SuHoSin played this, because he was not positioning as fast as he could be, and he was not expanding as fast as he could have done it, but he always tried to make this aggression happen, to throw just wave after wave of units at the third base of his opponent, trying to take it down, and Crank for quite a while defended really well.
Yeah, he did really well. There was that one engagement, though, where all of his Stalkers were in the back and not really firing as well as they could have been, and I think that might have been one of the turning points for him. I mean, he just constantly attacked in this best of 3. On Tomb Valley, for example, he would end up losing the game, but he just kept attacking without droning. That's why he pulled his drones at the end, because he had no mining except that one base. He could have taken another hatchery at any point in time, but he decided not to. That's just not really his style, it seems like, today, especially. But, I mean, he's shown it in the past. He's a very aggressive player. Continued that today, just continued the attacks, and eventually it was just too much for Crank. He couldn't hold on. And Crank played well in this best of 3, but in the end, the aggression his opponent gave him and the disadvantages he got from some of those attacks were too much. Losing the Nexus really hurt his economy. Then he didn't really commit to an attack. He just remade his Nexus. Yep. Tough position to play from.
Well, that is for the first best of 3 of the day. So currently we have Crank advancing to the next round, while we have SuHoSin advancing to the next round, while Crank drops down to Code B, has to qualify again in the next Code A qualifier. Our next match today is going to be Lushira against Hack, and we'll be back after a 5-minute break. So see you in a few minutes, guys.